Well, we're in the stands with the fans at the Pacific Coliseum, and I don't know that really anybody be watching more closely than some of these people. Colleen, how you have a lot to watch all at one time.
I've got this whole great team to watch tonight, and it's pretty exciting, as you can just imagine. I just wish everyone in Canada could be here tonight.
Were you a little surprised at the way Gordy was playing in the first period? He was hitting everybody he could catch.
No, he believes in giving is better than receiving.
You're enjoying the game. It's a good philosophy. Joanne Hull is here, and Bobby had an incredible first period, and I think you must be almost as tired as he is.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, I am. I don't know if I'm going to last this whole series. I hope he keeps it up. The whole team is playing just beautifully, and I hope that we just do as well in Moscow.
I think the fans in Vancouver are enjoying this game particularly. They were criticized before, not today.
Oh, they're wonderful fans. They're just cheering us on, and I think it's just great.
Okay, Joanne, I hope you enjoy the rest of the game. And this fellow's Dick Garrett, who's come all the way from Calgary, and I think the trip was worthwhile.
Oh, very much so, Bill. Certainly enjoying it. First period was very fast. Second period slowed down a little due to the ice, and of course there's a tremendous amount of people in the arena.
Okay, young man, you come. I see you at nearly every hockey game in Vancouver. What's your name?
Molly Bass.
You enjoying this one?
Yeah, and let's hope we don't get another one of those goals the referee doesn't see, because on Thursday night, that goal didn't count because the referee didn't see it. And in all hockey, if the referee doesn't see it, it doesn't count.
I hope Howie Meeker is watching and paying close attention. We'll see you soon. You enjoying this game?
Very much so. It's a whale of a good game, and I think the Russians are going to win it.
I think you really have to take your hat off to the Russians here, the way they've come back in the second period.
I agree. It's a must. You have to take your hat off to the Russians.
I really think you should. Doing a very nice job. And Johnny, so I don't know if that was one of your spares that he borrowed or not, but I think it's time we got back as the teams are both out on the ice, and let's go to Dodge Chevrolet.
Okay, Bill, a lot of folks across Canada flip their wigs watching this hockey series. You know, we have a presentation tonight of a set of Olympic coins to a former hockey great of years gone by, a member of the 1920 Olympic team for Canada, won the gold medal in Belgium. This is Mr. Frank Frederickson of Vancouver, who was with that team receiving the Olympic coin set from Lou Lefebvre, the president of the National Sport and Recreation Center in Ottawa, and he looked pretty pleased about the whole thing. So we are just seconds away from the resumption of play for period 3. The shots on goal at the end of 40 minutes by the Russians 22, by the Canadians 19. But on the board, it's 5 for Canada and 3 for the USSR. As Jerry Cheevers and Vladislav Tretiak, the two individuals who, of course, will face the most pressure in this period, warm up for the action. Tretiak has not been scored upon since 1749 of the opening period when Bobby Hull capped his hat trick. Alexander Yakashev narrowed the deficit to 5-3 at 11:04 of the second period for the only goal of that middle frame. So we have 20 minutes to go in the Canadian portion of the Super Hockey Series 1974. From here, they'll move to Moscow. But before that, a game in Finland and a game in Sweden at the end of this week, opening in Moscow on October 1st. Of course, you'll see all the games from the Soviet Union live via satellite. Alexander Yakashev, the great star, with now 12 goals in 12 games against Canada's pros. And the clock is acting up again. It's down to 9 minutes already as we begin the first 10-minute portion of this third period. They'll change ends at the 10-minute mark. All right, third period's underway. Gusev, in front of his own goal. They leave the puck for Frank Mahavlich. It comes out to Harlamov, 3-on-2 inside the line with Mihailov. Mihailov getting set to Petrov. Jams it, picked up by J.C. Tremblay. Back comes Team Canada. Frank Mahavlich over the line. Watched by Vasiliev, checked by Vasiliev, who gets the puck in behind the goal. Starts out the right side. Here's Gordie Howe for Frank Mahavlich. Backstrom also cruising in there. An open wing pass, nobody there. And here's Harlamov with Mihailov. 2-on-2, back for Mihailov. Passes in front, no Soviet player there, and Jerry Cheevers pounces on it. Face off to Cheevers' left. Soviets make a change. Team Canada stays with that line. Shadrin with Yakashev and Lebedev. An effective line for the USSR in the series. Backstrom swirling in the circle. Now the official finally drops the puck. Stapleton to the line, held in by Lyapkin. A shot, drifted wide. Deflection there by Shadrin, and almost went in. Here is Lee. Up the boards for Howe, too far. Sagankov lost it to Ralph Backstrom against Lyapkin. Bad angle, forced off in the corner. Now centers it in front. Oh, a great scoring chance there for Mark Howe. Just missing. Here's Ricky Lee with Gordie Howe. Lee's taken down. No penalty called by the Polish official. And the crowd here gets on Waldo Safecki. The penalties have been very much in the Soviets' favor in this game. Here's Yakashev. Bumped by Gordie Howe as he finished off the pass. Down to Ricky Lee. The clock is stopped now. We have no idea of time in the early minutes of this third period. Lyapkin with Howe cruising there. Goes behind his own goal. Now Team Canada's captain, Pat Stapleton, has it. His pass to Lacroix, broken up by Shadrin. Gordie Howe back checking. Lebedev with a chance. Now Lacroix with Howe on the right side. Over to young Mark Howe. He could not get the shot away. Blocked by Sagankov, and the puck goes into the crowd.
Look at Backstrom with the puck here. He just makes a great play. He stops in the corner. He's headed off with the gulch, and look at him throw it right across to Mark Howe, and Mark gets it right on the stick, tries to put it up high, but Trechek makes a big save.
He wasn't buying it, Trechek. He came across the goal mouth with Howe to block it beautifully. Now Maltsev in the Soviet zone. Back to the defenseman number 3, Luchenko. Centerized Bobby Hall, hopped over Mackenzie's stick. Luchenko, nobody there for the pass. Beyond Paul Schmier, going forward now is number 30, Klimov. On the ice for the first time tonight against Schmier, and behind the goal is Klimov. He could not center it out. Rick Smith takes over and gets it out over the line. Anderson can't control a bouncing puck. They send Mackenzie away on the right side. Inside the line, the Soviets clear it out with number 30, Konstantin Klimov on the ice. Right side pass. Maltsev almost bumped into Schmier. Didn't see him. Now here's Johnny Mackenzie being watched by Luchenko. Carries on, centers it out. The pass hopped over Lacroix's stick. Klimov to Anderson. Shot out and into the crowd by Rick Smith. And I believe that caught a spectator. Time shows 7 minutes. The clock is in error, is malfunctioning. 7:06 is the official time, we are informed, in the first half of this third period. 5-3, Team Canada maintains the lead, going ahead 5-2 in the first. The Soviets 1 in the second, and that spectator appears to be all right. Little bump on the head. Here is Henderson against Vasiliev. Leaves the puck. Walt shot. Bad angle. Rebound. McGregor had it out of control on his stick in front of the open side. Now Petrov up the left board. Vasiliev has a broken stick. The Soviets now get him one as they sweep down the ice. Harlamov losing it inside the line to Bruce McGregor, but he's alone out there at center ice against 3 Russian players, and Vasiliev comes up with it. Forecheck by Mike Walton drives Vasiliev back inside the blue line. For Petrov. Now Mihailov away to Vasiliev. Off a skate. Mihailov keeps back at center. Now gets it to Petrov at the blue line. It hops into the player's box and is caught by backup goalie Don McLeod, who will play next season with the Vancouver Blazers right here in the Pacific Coliseum. 6:20 to play in the opening half of the third period. McLeod victimized for 8 goals in Winnipeg Saturday. You could not fault him on all 8, of course. The Soviets tested him severely. He blocked a penalty shot. That was the Soviet team's first win. Right now they trail 5-3 early in the third period of Game 4 here in Vancouver. Shadrin slides up now for the face-off against Mike Walton. Gets it over to Lebedev on the right side. Chops it down, then gets body checked. Into the Canadian corner. J.C. Tremblay ahead to McGregor. Link wide now for Paul Henderson. Henderson winds up. A long shot. Trips wide. Ralph Backstrom against Lebedev. Overskates it. Number 19, Shadrin to Yakashev. Back to Shadrin. Bump. Carries on into the corner. Marty Howe coming up with it. He was hammered by Lebedev. Lyapkin did not hold it in. There's an offside of the Canadian line. But the Soviet player really threw his weight around there, Howie.
Just about 2 minutes before you saw that check, Marty Howe took him pretty good over in the boards and give it to him. And you see Lebedev, as they parted, turn around and get Howe's number right here. And look at him sneak in behind the net. Gets the stick up pretty high. Holy gee.
What do you call that?
That's got to be high sticking.
The attendance tonight, 15,772 at the Civic Coliseum. Enjoying this fourth game of the series. We hope you are right across the country. Now here is Lyapkin getting it over on the right side. Shadrin plays it across the line, broken up by Pat Stapleton. He pumps it down the ice, and the Canadians are called for icing. Among this large crowd, many fans from all across Western Canada and British Columbia in particular, a group of 117 here tonight. From Prince George, B.C., they've traveled more than 500 miles from the northeast of Vancouver to watch this game. An estimated 2,500 fans from across Canada going to Moscow at the end of the week for the resumption of this hockey series. Now here is Pat Stapleton to Frank Mahovlich. He's got a goal tonight. Bobby Hull has 3. Gordie Howe has 1. Team Canada leads 5-3. Rejan Houle, as they contact the puck there at center ice into the crowd, they'll have a face-off. 5:17 remaining now in the period. Bernier with Houle and Mahovlich. There's the Premier of British Columbia, Mr. David Barrett. Maltsev, checked by Rejan Houle. Houle moves up with Frank Mahovlich. They bunch together there. Houle jams it inside the Soviet line. Got a body check from Luchenko. Carries on beside the goal. Now Ricky Lee has it. Turning away from Luchenko. Behind the goal for Frank Mahovlich. Mahovlich waiting, centering it back on the point for Lee. Cradles the puck there. Swings away from Klimov. Down the boards, his shot high. Blocked in front. Rebound! Oh, the great save! Off Houle by Tretiak. Here's Bernier across to the far point. Lee keeps it in to Mahovlich. His pass out blocked. It finally comes to Bernier. Bernier, the hole, popped over his stick. Canada all around the Soviet goal. Mahovlich for Houle. Now Klimov starts out. Ricky Lee takes over. Waits for Frank Mahovlich to get onside. He did not get out in time. And now Bernier is punching away at Klimov. And the linesman moves in to separate them. With the score, Canada 5, the Soviets 3. This is Game 4 from Vancouver.
Это банк, где люди составляют разницу.
4:18 left in the first half of this third period. 5-3, Canadians leading the Soviet Union. Paul Schmier behind his own goal. Away from Mikhailov. At the blue line, a center ice pass for Gordie Howe. Across the blue line, Howe still with it. In front of the goal, a centering pass for number 11. His son Markov was broken up. And here's Harlamov. Harlamov with Mikhailov. A lot of ice time for this line. It's gloved by Cheevers for a face-off. A game recorder gives Pat Stapleton. Let's watch for a moment.
Lee just made a great play here to get the puck into Mahovlich. Look, Mahovlich control it and throw it over to Houle, and Houle gets 2 good shots at it.
Soviets win that face-off. Schmier behind his own goal to Gordie Howe on the right boards. Ahead now to Ralph Backstrom. Backstrom is going down. A 2-on-1 with Marco. Oh, a great check there on Backstrom by Vasiliev, number 6. And here's Harlamov to Mikhailov. Petrov, number 16, looks for it. It's offside. I was going to say the game recorder gives Pat Stapleton +3 on overall performance tonight. That's based on checking, passing, shooting, and overall defensive play for the Team Canada captain. Here's the check that Backstrom had to endure.
Gee, just a dandy. He was waiting for young Mark Howe to come up in the clear. He tried to stop and let the Russian player go by him, but that Russian had dead sight.
Who says nobody hits in international hockey, Howie? Here's J.C. Tremblay in behind the Canadian goal. Gave it away to Shadrin. Bouncing puck for the Soviets. Harlamov took a swat at it. It's finally whistled down. A high stick caught it. The Soviet player down in front of the goal, Shadrin, and Cheevers is calling for the Russian trainer to come out. Shadrin got a stick high on the face, and a concerned and very sportsmanlike Jerry Cheevers motioned for the Soviet trainer, who has not made a move. He was scraped there, high on the cheek. Here it is again.
You can just see a shot of this here. Now just watch. The Russian player is just sort of tapped in the heel, and down he goes. The puck will come out of the corner.
He hit his face on the ice, but he skates off. Apparently all right. Here now is number 5 and number 23. The two players are going to be a penalty against one of the two. McKenzie running into Lyapkin. And the Canadians are protesting, so evidently they caught McKenzie. And you hear the crowd's reaction to that.
There's a pretty good two-hander right there, but look at this. High sticking. McKenzie gets the stick up pretty high, and I would say that's a pretty good call because that's about the third time he's had a borderline infraction. You just don't do that type of thing in international hockey, and particularly when you're leading 5-3 late in the game.
Crowd incensed about the slash just prior to that. Now McKenzie taunting the Soviets in front of their bench. Now slowly swings away, is making no move in the direction of the penalty box. They may be giving double penalties here because both gates are open. Yes, there are 2 penalties. Shadrin gets one.
2 minutes for slashing. Time 6:45.
Now, wait a minute. They have not given McKenzie a penalty at all. Shadrin gets the only penalty for slashing. You might have seen on the replay before the contact was made by McKenzie, he was slashed by Shadrin, and that is the call they made.
Well, I don't know. I kind of think we get a bit of an edge in a deal like that. But certainly that's it's quite a break for Team Canada, and I don't know what the referee was looking at, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Down?
Looked enough to warrant penalties both ways. And originally the gates were open both ways, but just the one Soviet penalty. And play goes right on with about 3 minutes to play in the first half of the final period. 5-3 for Canada. The Canadians with a manpower advantage. There's a bump by McKenzie on Gusev. Could not take him off the puck, though. Soviets so far are killing it, controlling it. Mihailov away back to Petrov. McKenzie now and Mihailov swinging sticks at each other. There's going to be a penalty. The Soviets will get even again on penalties. Delayed call is in effect. The Soviet goalie's out of the net. Open wing pass for Mihailov. Shoots it back down into his own zone. Mind you, if that goes in, that counts off a Soviet stick in the open net, but it was wide. And the Soviets now being checked by McKenzie, who finally wins the puck, and I think McKenzie will finally get the penalty he missed the last time. He chopped the Soviet player Mihailov right in front of the Russian bench.
He's lucky he didn't get another one after the referee had called the penalty, but certainly the Russians played it smart. All they wanted to do was to kill off their own penalty. They'll get a man advantage for a much longer period of time now. If they could have just hung on to that puck till their penalty was up, then they'd have given Team Canada the puck, and they'd have had that full man advantage for 2 minutes.
It's called elbowing.
Here is the penalty right here.
That's the one they called. Then he swung at Mihailov in front of the bench, and the referee did not see that. 7:30 is the time for elbowing to McKenzie, so the Soviets will ultimately have the advantage here. Shadrin has served some time. The clock shows 2 minutes remaining in his penalty. That cannot be correct. So for the moment, the teams are even at 5 aside. Gusev gives it to Mihailov. Now starting up is Vasiliev. Back to Gusev, his defense partner, at the Canadian blue line. Here is the pass from Yakushev, too far from Mihailov. Around the boards for Vasiliev. Paul Schmier has it. Schmier takes his time, feeds Rick Smith behind the net. Now in turn, back to Schmier. Being watched by Mihailov. Coming up with it is Petrov, getting it out to Vasiliev. Vasiliev away from Mahavlich. Schmier takes a run of the Soviet player Mikhailov, and the puck is finally cleared down the ice. Penalties could be costly here in the final period as Canada protects a 2-goal lead, 5-3. Here is Vladimir Petrov winding up with a pass behind Gusev. Rick Smith takes over, gets away from Boris Mikhailov, feeds Frank Mahavlich. It's whistled down offside. Offside of the Soviet blue line. With a minute and a half left until they'll change ends at the 10-minute mark of the final period.
Here's some pretty good series of checks right here. Look at this. Frank keeps the stick down. The Russian gets it up just a little bit. Here's another good check. Watch Schmier. Good thing he didn't have two hands on the stick. The referee's right there, and he's let that type of thing go all night long, so as long as he's consistent.
Howie, the Soviets have 15 seconds to kill off their penalty, and then for the following 45, with McKenzie having a minute left in his sentence, they will have the manpower advantage. Coming out now, Henderson and McGregor with Stapleton and Tremblay. For the Soviets, Maltsev and Lebedev with Sagankov and Luchenko. This is Stapleton. Ahead for McGregor, could not get to it. Lebedev with Maltsev now inside the line, broken up by Tremblay. Tremblay to Bruce McGregor behind him. Back comes Lebedev. Lebedev, as the Soviet penalty expires, to Maltsev. His shot was blocked. Cleared off the boards by Cheevers and whistled down. They'll have a face-off beside the Canadian goal. And for the next 40 seconds approximately, with McKenzie finishing his penalty time, the Soviets will have a power play.
Our defense seemed to be backing up a little too deep, and sooner or later one of the Russian players are going to pop one home from the top of the circle. We have to meet the Russians as they're coming over our blue line, and I believe the main fault is our forwards are just getting caught too often.
McGregor lost to Shadrin. Lebedev bumps into the official, clears in front. Now McGregor had it hop off his stick as he overskates the puck, but gathers up and comes out. Minutes of play in the first half of period number 3 here in Vancouver. Tretiak beside his goal, clears ahead to Sagankov. Right side pass for Lebedev with Shadrin and Maltsev. Inside the Canadian line, Shadrin shooting. Carl Henderson got his stick on it. It goes to the corner for Lebedev. Sagankov. Lebedev. Behind the net. They can't center it out. Pat Stapleton ties up Maltsev. Now Lebedev does pass it out to Bruce McGregor. Here's a breakout for McKenzie out of the penalty box. One-on-one. McKenzie right side shoots. Blocked by Tretiak. Tried to clear. Couldn't get enough wood on it. Back comes Maltsev. Just seconds left in period 3, the first 10-minute part of it. Stapleton against Lebedev wins the puck. Pass behind McKenzie at center ice. McKenzie with Bobby Hull now on. The teams were full strength. McKenzie fell against Sagankov with Maltsev. Fakes the shot. Goes in. And Lebedev has it as the buzzer sounds to end the first half of the third period. With the score, Canada 5 and the Soviets 3. This is Game 4 from Vancouver.
Canada is an energy-rich country, but we consume over 45,000 gallons of oil every minute. Over 2.5 million gallons every hour. That's more than 63 million gallons every single day. But Canada's available oil resources won't last forever. If we continue using oil at this rate without finding new sources, we'll run out. We have to find more. Last year, Gulf Canada spent over $57 million finding and developing new energy resources. And this year, we'll spend more than $110 million. Gulf is confident that the petroleum reserves are there, enough to meet our needs for generations to come. To find them, it takes time and money. Gulf is working to stop a future supply shortage by spending that time and money now.
When Johnny McKenzie hits like this, he's a real asset. No doubt at all. That just sort of makes the Russian keep his head up.
Didn't get quite enough of them, though, as McKenzie fell, but that contact is so important to keep the Soviet team off balance, or else they'll just free skate on you all night.
I think that's the key. As long as the Russians know when they get the puck, there's somebody coming at them, and when they shoot it or pass it, there's going to be bodily contact.
We have 10 minutes left in the hockey game. Canada leads 5-3. They've led since midway in the opening period. But they have not scored since 17:49 of the opening period. And now, as we resume the final 10 minutes, here is Bobby Hull with it. Getting it ahead for McKenzie now, Lacroix. Across the Soviet line against Gusev. Stopping to McKenzie. Could not jam it down toward Bobby Hull near the crease, and Mihailov comes back for the Soviets. Mihailov leaving it for Petrov. Back to Mihailov. Oh, and he shot wide. Play is whistled down. There's going to be a hooking penalty here. The penalty appears to be against the Canadian team, but we'll wait for it. Johnny McKenzie gets another penalty. That's expensive.
Picks up Harmon. Look at him. He's got him right from the red line in, and he stays with him. Now, when that shot comes across the net, McKenzie is keeping Harmon off to the outside, who would have probably cut in and tucked it in.
It's hooking at 10:26 of the third period. His third penalty of the game, and McKenzie's sixth of the four-game series.
Don, I watched McKenzie pick Harmonoff up right at their blue line, and at no time did I think he really hooked him.
Here's Gusev from the left point now. Long shot deflected by Cheevers off the glass. Howe failed to clear. Into the corner, Stapleton golfs at it, tipped but not out. Vasiliev on the stick of Stapleton off the board, still kept in, now finally cleared as Howe makes a check on Vasiliev. Vasiliev digs it back over center to Gusev, and now Mihailov with it. The Soviets with plenty of scoring chances here to get back the goals they need. They trail by 2. Their power play is in effect right now. J.C. Tremblay to Pat Stapleton. Taking lots of time, now under pressure, gets it ahead for Mark Howe, steps inside the line and back out again. Over to Backstrom, and they work that 4-man long box penalty-killing unit. Off the boards, Howe leaves it now finally for Gusev as the Soviets wind up. Over the Canadian blue line. Arlamov had it blocked by McGregor. Gets a second chance now. Waits for Gusev to get onside. Feeds it ahead for Petrov. Mark Howe comes up with it with McGregor inside the line, 2-on-1. Bruce couldn't get it back to Mark. Play goes in behind the Soviet goal. This is number 6, Vasiliev. At center ice for Shadrin. Shadrin checked by Henderson. Harlamov against Stapleton and Henderson. They swing it over to the far open point. McGregor comes up with it and shoots it down the ice. No indication on the penalty time. The clock is not operating. We estimate 30 seconds of McKenzie's penalty remain. Here is J.C. Tremblay. As again, Canada works well as a penalty-killing unit against the Soviet Union. That power play of the Soviets, awesome in 1972. Quite ineffective by comparison this time. Here is Shadrin against Stapleton, back to Mihailov. Left point pass, Vasiliev shot wide. Round the boards it comes to Paul Henderson. McKenzie's out of the box, but no stick in his hand. Relieved by Frank Mahavlich, and it goes to the stick of J.C. Tremblay now. Another Russian power play has been denied. Shadrin to Vasiliev. Gets it over to Luchenko. Back to Vasiliev, playing games in front of his own goal. Oh, and Stapleton almost dropped that pass out. Mahavlich now brings it in with third. Bernier shoots and stopped by Tretiak. Got it low to the short side. And now Luchenko behind the goal sends it ahead for Lebedev. Too far at center ice for Shadrin. That'll be icing against the Soviet Union with about 6 minutes and 20 seconds to play.
Don, Team Canada can afford to get awful cozy with that puck. There's just no threat at all of the Russians moving in and hitting them. Pat Stapleton at one time just had the puck standing still, and as the Russian come to him, the Russian slowed down, so Pat was able to hang on to the puck as long as he could. And you can play pretty good hockey when you know you're not going to get hit, and that's the feeling that Team Canada has right now, why they're dominating it.
From the face-off in the Soviet zone, it is Luchenko ahead to Shadrin. He gets it out to center ice. Paul Schmier puts it right back inside the blue line. Lebedev lost the puck to Serge Bernier. Bernier turned around, bats it down to the left corner, and Sagankov has to go back for it. Mahavlich charging after Sagankov. Slowed him up. Left the puck there for Maltsev. Maltsev clearing rink wide on the left side and finally back to center, but Mahavlich breaks that play out. The Big L at center ice. Away from Shadrin to Rezhan, back to Mahavlich. A shot. Rebound. Cleared by Shadrin. Maltsev at the Canadian line. Away from Schmier. Dropped it back. Broken up by Rezhan Houle. Houle ahead to Serge Bernier. Down the boards. Bodied by Luchenko. Carries on. Waits for a man to pass to. Nobody in close. Goes back into the corner again. Finally lost it to Gankov, and Luchenko has it. 5:45 to play in the game. Now it's center ice at the Canadian line. Gordie Howe gloves it. Brings away from number 7 Sagankov. Banks it off his leg and down the ice as Canada changes on the go. Gennady Sagankov across to Luchenko. At the blue line, rink wide for Petrov. Batted out to center again. Canadians so far holding the USSR at bay in the closing minutes of this hockey game. Pat Stapleton breaks that pass for Petrov up. He went down. There's no penalty called on the play. No penalty. Here's Harlamov inside the line. Over on the left side for Mihailov. Behind the boards, off the back of the goal. It's picked up by number 2, Ricky Lee. Ahead to number 11, Mark Howe with 5 minutes left. Lee down the right board, stops. Puts it out to Gordie Howe. He shoots. Kretschak holds on to that one.
You have to watch this. One of the few elbows I've ever seen Gordie Howe take, but it didn't take him long to get it back. Harlamov, as they were fighting for the puck along the board, gave Gordie a pretty good shot right in the head. And look at Harlamov as a result of it, fixing the helmet. Gordie just took a look at him and went right back at him and said, "Here, whether you're Russian, Canadian, or American, you don't do that to Mr. Howe."
Just before that, you saw what the fans here in Vancouver felt should have been a tripping call against the Soviets. Off the face-off, it hit the goalpost. A hard drive by Johnny McKenzie hit the goalpost. Here's Howe. Oh, over top of the goal. Finally out to center ice. 2 great scoring drives there by McKenzie and Bobby Hull. Now Petrov shoots it down to the right corner. Gulped by Howe and into the back of the Soviet bench. And another spectator has been injured. Hard drive came out, and they're helping that young man out immediately. A little over 4 minutes to play in the game. Team Canada 5, the Soviet Union 3. In this crucial game, that barring a tie will determine which team goes ahead, leading into the final 4 games in Moscow, beginning on October the 1st. You'll see them all via satellite live. Crowd begins to chant. Shadrin wins the draw. Is passed back too far. McKenzie fell against Luchenko, and Lebedev has it. Now McKenzie trying to work it ahead to Bobby Hull. Does. Hull against Shadrin shoots it down the right side. And Luchenko in behind the Soviet goal. Fires a lead pass out with about 4:10 to play now. Shadrin at center ice. With Maltsev. Lebedev, the shot high and wide. Rebound, a big one out in front. Being held, and there's no penalty call. The official was a good 50 feet away over on the far boards. McKenzie gives him a glance and produces no reaction. Off the face-off, they score. Right off the face-off, the Soviets put it in to make it 5-4. With the score, Canada 5 and the Soviets 4. This is game 4 from Vancouver.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
KTEL presents the fabulous Johnny Cash today. 24 of his greatest hits.
I fell into a burning ring of fire.
The very beautiful.
If I were a carpenter and you were a lady.
And of course.
Understand, you old man, I'm tired of your bad mouth.
Get Johnny Cash today. 24 of his greatest hits, plus a free 8x10 photo. $4.99 from KTEL. Tape or cassette, $6.99. Greatest hits, plus a free 8x10 photo, $4.99 from KTEL. Tape or cassette, $6.99.
Here's the goal again off the face-off by number 10, Alexander
Just
Maltsev.
wins the draw here. No one moves out on him, and look how quick he gets the shot away. Off the toe of Cheever's stick, on the post, and in.
His second goal in this series. It's 5-4, and the Soviets are only a goal down now. Here's Petrov shooting it down. Expects some pressure from the USSR now. Here's Lee against Mihailov, tying it up for a face-off. A quick goal has put the Soviets right back in contention.
Just a case down of someone not picking up the man and run right by him. On a face-off like that, someone has to move out and just stay with him and take him.
From the face-off, Schmier forced behind his net into the corner by Harlamov. A centering pass, where's in front? Cheevers hangs on. He lost sight of it for a moment in that maze of legs with Smith there and Mihailov, but came up with it. 3:31 to play. 5-4 for Canada. Line change now by Billy Harris. 16:08 is the corrected time of that fourth Soviet goal. Again, Billy Harris, no emotion, watching as his players make a change. He'll send out Tremblay and Stapleton on the blue line, along with Bernier and Hull and Mahavlich as the forward attackers. Petrov on the face-off for the Russians. Harlamov, fast shot. Cheevers just saw it at the last moment of the glove hand. That could have tied it up right there. Petrov has it go behind him, and finally here's Frank Mahavlich down the left side, inside the blue line, was checked by number 2, Alexander Gusev. Harlamov sending Mihailov away with Petrov now inside the blue line. Past J.C. Tremblay. Stapleton bumps Petrov in the corner. Mihailov back out to Gusev. His shot. Score! High game. The Soviets have come back to tie it up.
Just no one stopping here out at the point. The Russian goes in here, outfights two fellas for the puck, throws it back. 4 Canadians going out to screen the puck, and a good shot picks the bottom right-hand corner. There it is again, thrown out in front. Screen shot. Cheevers practically no chance on it at all. The Russians just out-hustling it, picking up the loose puck in the corner and getting it back out to the point.
Gusev from Mihailov and Petrov at 16:59. We've got 3 minutes and 1 second to play, and they're tied 5-5. Puck goes into the Canadian bench, and there'll be a face-off. Canada led 5-2 in the first period. It was 5-3 after 2, and now these goals by Maltsev and Gusev, just 51 seconds apart here in the final period, have tied the game. The Gankov goes behind his own goal, being watched by Baxter, and they get it out to center ice. Schmier gave the puck to Lebedev. Lebedev alone in there now, being watched by Schmier, bumped off it, and Mark Howe takes over behind the Team Canada goal. Gets it out over the blue line. Lutsenko for Shadrin, off the official. Back for Shadrin again to Maltsev. Soviets looking strong now, pressing for the go-ahead goal. Down to Cheevers' doorstep, left for number 18, Paul Schmier. To Gordie Howe, through his legs. Shot from a bad angle, was handled by Cheevers, who shoots it to Gordie Howe. Now Howe over to Mark Howe, his 19-year-old son, inside the line. He was taken down. There is going to be a penalty. There's going to be a Soviet penalty. Tripping. Number 7, I believe, Sagankov. Goes to the box.
As soon as Gordie come out over the blue line, he was looking for his son over there, and there's no doubt about it. The youngster had the Russian beat. The Russian stuck out his foot and tripped him.
Soviet Union penalty to number
But it's the experience of Gordie coming across that blue line. He knew that Mark would be coming up in the far wing. Laid it right on his stick.
So Canada gets the power play advantage with a little over 2 minutes to play. Billy Harris is going to send on Johnny McKenzie with Gordie Howe, Lacroix Mahavlich out there now. Here's that 5th tying goal for the Soviets. Cheevers was screened. Gusev from the point scoring it. 5-5. Now some instructions for goaltender Tretiak from Coach Boris Kurlagin. Montreal on Tretiak's helmet.
This is quite a switch, Don. Normally, Team Canada has finished exceptionally strong in all the previous games, and that's the last 6 or 7 minutes, and they look to have pretty good control of this contest till the last 3 or 4 minutes. And once again, it's that Russian conditioning, I think, in this real hot Winnipeg arena that stood them in good stead.
They've only had the advantage of the power play 3 times tonight. They've scored once. Lacroix from the face-off. Mahavlich on the boards battling for it. Lacroix joins in there against the Soviet player Petrov, and they'll force another face-off. What a finish we're in for. Canada with a power play. Sagankov in the penalty box for tripping. Lacroix gets it back to Bobby Howe. Gordie Howe! Oh, and Tretiak saw it all the way and made the catch. We now have 2 minutes of official time remaining.
Team Canada has two pretty good hockey players playing the point.
Howe and Hull. Here's McKenzie getting it in front for Lacroix. He was hammered down by Luchenko, and the Soviets shoot it down the ice. Scores 5-5. Minute and about 40 seconds remaining now in the hockey game. Here's Gordie Howe to center ice, the Soviet line, almost getting through. Back to Bobby Hull, makes a move on Petrov, then works down the right board, leaves it there for McKenzie. He couldn't dig it out, and almost a break from Mihailov as they try to beat him at center ice. Frank Mahavlich now in his own zone against Petrov. Gave it away. Here's Mihailov with a chance to kill more time and dump it down to the Team Canada corner with 1 minute and 10 left. Bobby Hull. Center ice. Soviet blue line. He's got 3 goals tonight, all in the first period. Hull passing it across for Gordie Howe. Howe shoots. Oh, it goes wide. Off the boards, an open side. Mihailov, a long pass to Petrov. They do not whistle it down. It appeared to be over 2 lines in front. Howe recovers for Canada and gives the puck to Lacroix off Petrov. McKenzie for Bobby Hull. Hull across the blue line to Frank Mahavlich. Mahavlich had to go behind him, and Petrov starts out. Only seconds left now. 30 seconds in the game. And a few seconds left in Sagankov's penalty. Valiesev shoots it down the ice into the corner. And Gordie Howe goes back for it. The score is 5-5. The Soviets appear to have killed this power play with 15 seconds left. Here comes Rezhan Houle down the side of Paul Henderson in front for Henderson. Couldn't get a shot. Still loose in there, but Sagankov's on the ice at full strength. Race for it. Here's Harlamov against J.C. Tremblay. Into the corner. It's all over. The Soviets have come from behind. We're on a 5-5 tie. As Team Canada failed to score with the last-second power play opportunity. So with the Canadian portion over, they finish up with a win each and 2 ties in the 4 games played from Quebec City, ending in Vancouver here tonight. So with the final score, Canada 5 and the Soviets 5, this is Game 4 from Vancouver.
Here we've got something very special for Canadian hockey fans and the WHA. The Quebec Nordiques, Toronto Toros, my own Winnipeg Jets, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Vancouver Blazers are all in one new division, the Canadian division. That means we'll play more games in Canada against our Canadian competition. Add that kind of fan interest to what you'll see from the rest of the WHA, where high-round draft picks and prized European and North American editions have made all teams stronger, and you'll know why season tickets are really moving. There are still some good season tickets available, but you'll have to act quickly if you want to be part of a great league, not only this year, but for years to come. Call the team ticket office in your area right now. There'll be someone there to answer your questions and deal with your requests. Join the WHA. You'll have a lot of fun. See exciting hockey, and you'll find it something the entire family can get involved in. I mean, we've already proven that, haven't we, Biko? All right there, Bob.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, here are the two players selected by a panel of Canadian and Soviet sports writers as the most valuable players of the game. For the Soviet side, Alexander Yakushev. And for the Team Canada, Bobby Hull. The presentation of the prestige sets of Series 2 Olympic coins will be made by Mr. Harold Wright, the President of the Canadian Olympic Association. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who wish to avoid the traffic rush, your game ticket stub will admit you free to the grandstand at the racetrack. Those of you that are driving, do drive safely. Have a good trip home. Thank you and good night.
Just a slight bit of confusion down at ice level because this is the end of the first half of the series. There is the special award for the most gentlemanly player on either side to be selected by the touring writers and broadcasters and television people from the Soviet Union. They're picking the most gentlemanly player on either side. And then, of course, we're having the usual selection of the most valuable player from either side. And you've just heard that it was Bobby Hull and Yakushev, but they were to go to two different places, and as a result, a slight confusion down there on the ice. But one thing we have learned, as Brad Selwood said in the second period, they can't go to sleep for a minute or less than a minute, because in the space of 51 seconds, the Soviets came bouncing back in that third period, just when it looked like the Canadians were prepared to sit and protect a two-goal lead. But at the 16:08 mark and then at the 16:59 mark, Maltsev scoring, then Gusev and his patented drive from the line made it 5-5, and that's the way we wind up. Let's go upstairs now to Don Chevrier.
Okay, Johnny. Well, until 4 minutes remain, the Canadians have the lead. They'd held that since late in the first period very decisively, but as you say, you can't afford to relax for a moment. Very quick shot. Cheever screened on one for sure, maybe two, and the Soviets tied it.
I think what happens is that we certainly didn't maintain our momentum in that second and third period. Here's the face-off, and here, look, we actually won the draw, and the Canadian defenseman put it out on Maltsev's stick, and that was a 5-4 goal right there. We won the draw. Now here's it going into the corner. Pat tries to take out the Russian. The Russian spins off, makes contact with the puck. 13 picks it up and throws it out. Now we've got four fellows going out to block the shot, and look, it's just on in the corner.
And two forwards of the Soviets parked right there, either side of Jerry Cheevers. The puck was in cleanly. Well, it's heartbreaking for this team, but they certainly are in much better shape than in 1972, when Team Canada of that year left behind after 4 games in Canada. They're all even now. As a matter of fact, they're even in goals at 17 goals apiece. They were even tonight in shots on goal at 31 apiece. They've each won a game, and they've tied 2 games. So it shows you that this is a tremendously even and competitive series, Howie. And with the score, Canada 5 and the Soviets 5. This is Game 4 from Vancouver.
Одна из многих вещей, которые мне нравятся в Канаде, это рост наличных сбережений. Простой способ сберегать рубли и копейки. Вы только скажите в Торонто Доминион, сколько вы хотите сберечь и когда вы хотите вложить их в банк. Все остальное они сделают. Соответствующие суммы будут переводиться с вашего чекового счета на ваш сберегательный счет автоматически. Это так просто. А люди такие хорошие. Это банк, где люди составляют разницу.
Bobby Hull, the outstanding Canadian player on the ice today in Vancouver. And Bobby, a sensational first period.
Yes, we came out. Apparently we were ready. We stuck to our game plan of our first two games, and we kind of bottled the Soviet team up. We got our opportunities, and we put the puck in the net. I don't know what happened after that.
You put 3 of them in the net, and it was a little surprising the way Team Canada came back in that period after they really started slowly.
Yes, we did, but I believe it was just a matter of course, the game taking its course before we got back on track and started to play the way we did in the first 2 games. I really, it's kind of disheartening to have a 3-goal lead and blow it the way we did, but we're not satisfied with the tie, but we're still in pretty good shape.
Was it particularly hard to play in this rink today? It was so hot. It was over 80 in Vancouver, and it must have had an effect on both clubs.
We had 4 lines and 3 sets of defensemen, and we were changing quickly, and I really don't think it took that much out of us. We just let up at times, that's all.
Best of luck to all of Team Canada and continued success when you go to Russia.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bobby Hull, Team Canada's #1 star today in this series as we go back now to Johnny Saw.
And Bill, we're not going to be outdone by our Soviet friends. We also have the Gentlemanly Award to be presented by the Caprice Award by CTV and CBC. We'll see you all from Moscow on October 1. Thank you and good night.
Game 4 of the Canada-Soviet Series, coming to you live from Vancouver. Brought to you by Toronto Dominion Bank, the bank where people make the difference. By Gulf Oil Canada Limited, its dealers, agents, and distributors across Canada.
This is the CBC Television Network.